Thanks so much for joining us. I know you support impeaching the president, but do you think the vice president, Mike Pence, should invoke the 25th Amendment to try to get rid of him even more quickly?
I do, Wolf. That's the simplest way because it just requires the vice president and a majority of the cabinet. Now, President Trump could object, but that would trigger a 21-day window, and by that time his term would expire. And so it would allow Vice President Pence to be able to assume the office and keep our country safe.
How do you think the vice president might respond to this appeal from the speaker?
I hope he will do the right thing. I mean, the key fact for me is he was the one, by all reports, who ordered the National Guard to help save the Capitol. And to me, that was the biggest dereliction of duty by the president. He wasn't willing to help save the Capitol. And a lot of those protesters, Wolf, were actually attacking Republican lawmakers. So this is not partisan. This is about preserving our democracy. And I would have confidence in Vice President Pence to be president until Joe Biden takes office.
Well, Pence clearly did the right thing when he was in the Senate as president of the Senate, the vice president. He did the right thing in certifying the Electoral College results that Biden won the election. The president has been angry at him. Now, we understand they haven't spoken to each other. President has not spoken to Pence, at least since earlier on Wednesday. The impeachment proceedings would be next. Congressman, if the vice president doesn't go forward with the 25th Amendment, what do you say to your Republican colleagues who argue that impeachment would be divisive right now? Earlier, I spoke with Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina. Listen to what she told me.
I've talked to some of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle today. I do believe there's an appetite, whether that is censure or some other resolution or opportunity to move forward. And somebody's got to be held accountable, and we have to hold the president accountable for what happened. The rhetoric leading up to this vote, the lies that were told to the American people, this is what happens. Rhetoric has real consequences, and people died.
So what's your reaction to her argument?
Well, she's right. Rhetoric has consequences. I mean, this was a seditious conspiracy, Wolf. You have the president of the United States giving a speech telling people to go charge the Capitol, to go fight. Rudy Giuliani is there saying, call it a trial by combat. How can you have a president continue to represent us when you're attacking the very institutions of democracy? I don't know, even in other countries where you have a leader tell people to go attack their own institutions. And so to me, it's just such a clear-cut case that this person, Donald Trump, can no longer be president.
What do you think about this possibility of invoking the 14th Amendment and passing a resolution to expel various members of the House of Representatives because they engaged in insurrection or rebellion?
Well, Wolf, I think we have to be very careful and fact-based. I draw a distinction between those members who are actually inciting the protesters, who were either fist-bumping or inciting a speech, versus people who were actually opposing the results of certification. I totally disagree with those who oppose certification, but they were at least following some process. So what I would do is have fact-based ethics investigations into people who actually incited the riots.
The House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, a man you know well, says the House may want to send the impeachment articles to the Senate, assuming it passes, and everyone agrees they have more than enough than the 218 votes you need to pass a simple majority in the House. He wants potentially wait maybe 100 days to give the president-elect Joe Biden and his team an opportunity to get going, to get Senate confirmation of cabinet members, for example, to focus in on the deadly coronavirus pandemic, to make sure that people are getting vaccinated in huge numbers, to deal with the economy, to deal with other issues. What do you think about that?
I have great admiration for Jim Clyburn, and probably no one is closer to President Biden. But I think we should send the impeachment articles right away for two reasons. First, it would put the ball in McConnell's court. He shouldn't delay. And let it be clear, if he's not willing to hold the president accountable. And second, as you know, Wolf, these impeachment trials take 3 days. I think it was 3 days with President Clinton. It was 3 days in the first President Trump's impeachment trial. So it's not going to cause that much delay.
Let me get your answer on another subject that's really clearly very important. The district you represent in Congress, Silicon Valley, the president has now been banned from Facebook, from Twitter, most other social media platforms, Instagram. It's controversial with some that are accusing these companies of what they call censorship. What is your response?
I don't think it's censorship because even Brandenburg, under the First Amendment, says that you cannot incite imminent violence. And that's what happened here. I mean, this is not the president being censored for his opinion. Now, I do think it needs to be consistently applied. And if Khomeini in Iran is inciting violence in cases where he has, that ought to be a permanent ban as well. But I think we can draw the line in saying no one should be on these social media platforms if they are actively inciting violence.
Congressman Khanna of California, thanks so much for joining us. Stay safe out there. We'll be in touch.